to be held accountable, not being held accountable. Does international law still matter?
Absolutely, I believe it's extremely important. I know it sounds very revolutionary to say that international law should be kicked out of the window, but for the poor, the vulnerable and the victim, international law is important. And let us not fail to acknowledge that the protections of the treaties and conventions drafted post-Second World War have helped us to avoid a world war for 80 years. So let's not be too quick to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I do believe there is urgent need for reform of the United Nations, particularly the Security Council. Its original conception was flawed at inception, and it is now a deadly instrument. And it needs to be reformed in order to be responsive to the crises of the world. So for me, international law is important, particularly because of those who are innocent, vulnerable, and marginalized, who are most often the victims. But we need stronger instruments, stronger institutions in order to ensure that when protection is needed, enforcement is available to ensure protection.
To level the playing fields, let's see whether we're talking global trade and technology regimes, those have deepened inequality. The reform of the UN Security Council continues to be elusive. The Bretton Woods institutions are criticized for not being fit for purpose, especially for poorer nations. The debt that hangs like an albatross around Africa's neck, and the criticism that multilateral institutions continue to reflect the same power structures of the 1940s. The reason I'm staying with you on this is that I remember during the presidency of Thabo Mbeki, together with his Nigerian counterpart, Olusegun Obasanjo, in the time of the late Kofi Annan, he looked as if Africa was close to some sort of meaningful reform of the UN Security Council, of the United Nations itself. But we seem to have regressed, and there are no loud voices calling for this in a meaningful way. Where are we, and what does this reform look like practically?
Well, we have put forward an African position on this question, as a Zulu consensus as we know it. I do think even that consensus requires a rethinking. We do have a range of proposals on reform of the United Nations. And I think, as I said, in particular, the Security Council, but also the decision-making role and impact of the General Assembly. So there's much to be done. But I fully agree with you that some of the practice of international law and its standing in the globe has been harmed by double standards of the most powerful countries in the world, who respect international law when it suits their agenda and do not respect it when their agenda is not advanced. So they will support the prosecutor of the ICC if he's acting against Rwandese who committed war crimes. But when it is against the Prime Minister of Israel and his ministers, they will not support the prosecutor. This is double standard. And what we need is an equitable approach to all international law. Every perpetrator, wherever they may be, they must face the might of international law, no matter who they are. So our world needs to change. And we do have, I think, a problem of the implementation of international law through the vision of a double standard rather than a world in which all humanity should enjoy protection.